Hey everyone, happy Future Friday. We're going to have a great time helping you look ahead and lead with time. If you're just tuning in, my name is Peter Burchfield. I'm an executive coach and I love to journey with leaders through the unfamiliar terrain of their next phase. And I want to be on the journey with you. And so that's what Future Fridays are all about. Let me give you a quick preview of where we are going. It's going to be a wild and important coaching journey ahead. And I'm really excited that we get to be a part of it. So basically, the reality is that in the midst of our minute-to-minute madness, we can often find ourselves just running through the hamster wheel. And we end up with this experience, constant rush, no real progress. Isn't that wild? Isn't that just like a paradox? How is it possible that we as leaders, whether you're an executive leader, whether you're a team leader, whether you're leading yourself, you know that you're putting in hours. You know that you're putting in effort, but you're in this sense of constant rush, but you can't really quantify or show any real progress. So, we're going to be focusing on that today. It's really important. A lot of leaders live here on a day to day basis. And that's why I want to help you level up in just a few minutes. And so, the question we have to ask ourselves is there a better way to be proactive? Not just reactive, not just waiting for stuff to fall apart where we have to then go put out all the fires, where we can be proactive and also be productive. And I'm convinced, both through my own experience and through the work I get to do with these amazing pioneering leaders, that it is not only possible, but it's necessary for you and I as leaders to figure out what is the best way for me right now in this season of my life to stay agile and stay ahead. And that's what we're going to be looking at together. Unfortunately, most leaders are too preoccupied just being the leader to actually anticipate and to actually accelerate their leadership journey or the team thing that they're leading with. So that's why I want to come with some empathy, but I also want to match it with a healthy dose of empowerment and to get in your face, figuratively here, and to say, you really need to pay attention to what's happening around you on the team level, because every day that you and I show up cluttered, the team have to deal with that. Every day that you and I show up um, down, discouraged, or just off off the rails, the team is waiting on us to figure out what to do now and next. So it really is a kind thing for the executive leaders and for the team leaders to get away, so that way they can better serve the people they work with and the community or the clients that they serve, and to show up and say, hey, I've gone away for a little bit. I know I was absent, but my heart was still invested in this project and in this work, and so now I have something to show for it. I was off the map, but when I came back, I got a bigger map. So let's keep pioneering together. And I want to hit this frustration because there's a lot of leaders, and because you are reliable, because you are responsible, because you are relational, you have absorbed more stuff. You have taken on your work and probably two or three other jobs that either need to get filled or kind of have a placeholder, but don't really have a functional solution yet. And then on top of that, there are all of the other people that you interact with that need you, because now you are the only person that can help them. And it's silly, but it's real. And many, many times, leaders are the most bombarded, leaders are the most burdened. And unfortunately, they are the load bearing parts of the team infrastructure. And so you don't want to keep pounding and beating away at the relational red iron in your team culture. You want to strengthen it. You want to make it stronger so that way the team can keep growing for the long haul. So we don't want leaders to get preoccupied with what's going on around them. We got to help them get away. And if I'm talking to you, then you need to hear this. And if you're on a team, you need to understand why it's so important that the leaders around you have this discipline. It's not just that, because they're posting little pictures here and there and everywhere. Maybe they're getting away, they're with family, they're doing golf, they're trying to level up somewhere. And you can get bristled up if you see that. And I don't know people's motives. Maybe somebody's motive is imposter syndrome. Maybe they're putting on the pretense of having it more put together than they actually do. Maybe they're saying, "Oh wow, look what I'm doing." I don't know their motive, but I know there is a real need after working in the trenches with so many amazing frontline leaders. I can tell you that margin produces momentum. Margin produces momentum, and that's what we need. We have to have the skill and the time to anticipate, and then we come back and we accelerate. And so we'll be talking about that as we get into this. So many leaders that I know are anxious and angry. I mean, just look at the fruit of their life. Look at the fruit of um, their interactions. Look at the fruit of just their day to day life. Leaders should be the most hopeful people in the room. Come on, leaders should be the most passionate people in the room. Leaders should be the most encouraged, not just encouraging. We should be the most encouraged people in the room. And we should be those that lead with these good qualities by example. And so this is going to be kind of a self-care conversation, but it's not a pass. It's not saying, you need to treat yourself. I'm saying, no, you need to train yourself. You need to be disciplined, and you need to make sure that you do whatever it takes to bring 100% to every space that you lead in. And I'm not just talking about your office. I mean, everywhere you're supposed to be leading, you better bring it. If you're leading yourself, which we should all be doing that. Don't be don't be anxious, don't be angry with other people. Don't be anxious about other stuff. Don't be anxious about what's happening out there. Don't be angry about what people do or don't do for you. Own this moment right now and believe that the next few minutes are going to make a transformative shift in your life for the better. That's my hope. That's why I'm showing up. That's why I'm here to encourage leaders and empower leaders with a few important ideas that if they really take root, they will bear fruit, not just in their life, but in a leadership community around them. Because leadership is not just handing someone a job or giving someone a title. Leadership is the real proof that people are being empowered from the inside out. And that's my passion, is helping you realize that leadership is important, whether you have that title or not, whether you're working at that job forever or not. But realizing that wherever you are, whatever space you occupy, whatever field of life and work you're in, you need to have the mindset and the skill set to lead. You have to take initiative. You have to take responsibility. You have to be relational. You have to bring your best. You have to be generous. You have to be a problem solver. You have to own every space, every field that you show up in. You have to lead yourself. If you are, blessed to have a family, you got to be a leader in that home. You have to lead by example. You have to be willing to put in the work so that way you can benefit as a family together. And the same goes for your team. Wherever you're on the team, I don't care what part of the org chart you're in. Did you know you can literally be not in the C-suite and have more influence than anyone in that room? Because when things get shaky, people look for strength. When things are uncertain, people want to find those that are steady and ready. And that's why you and I have to get rid of all of the anxiety and the anger that neutralizes and paralyzes us from putting in the future work today. Friend, I am here to tell you that when you learn how to get out of that reactionary mode, always, comparing and complaining, you can actually level up in very real, practical ways. And that's what I want to help you do. So, how do we do this? We're going to be talking about how to anticipate and accelerate. And these are just my strategies to help you look ahead and lead with time. And we're going to talk about some productivity stuff. We're going to talk about some leadership preparedness stuff. And we're going to go through a lot that has to do with, looking ahead at the calendar and then being intentional about what you put on your calendar, right? It's not just productivity, little hacks and self-help stuff that's going to help you check off some more boxes before the end of the week. This is about you getting serious with the time that you have and making sure that you're really getting the biggest ROI that you can. And you don't have to be so obsessed or stressed with all of this minute tracking. You're just so hyper focused. You're drilling down in the weeds with all of these minutes that you have to track. And okay, 5 minutes here and 2 minutes there, and da 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 da. Absolutely, you want to be a good steward, but you don't want to get so frugal, and you don't want to be so kind of just stuck, thinking about minutes that you're missing milestones in the process. Because just tracking your minutes is not going to get you to the milestones, right? There's a part of that, but leaders have to look ahead and leaders have to lead with their time. So that's what I'm committed to do. I've got some slides, I've got some notes, I've got some points, but the main thing is I show up on Future Fridays live stream so that way I can interact with you, so I can encourage you, so I can, respond to thoughts that come up here and there. And it helps me to know that when I show up, you're putting in your future work. And it helps you to know, hey, when you show up, I'm putting in my future work, because we don't want to just take all this time for granted. When you realize how big your future is, when you realize how bold your mission is, you're not going to waste time. You're going to put in the future work and you're going to prepare to go there. So if you're ready for that, let me know in the comments what field of leadership you're in. I would love to better know, better understand those of you that are tracking with this coaching journey. And again, if we're just meeting, my name is Peter Burchfield. I'm an executive coach, and I love just going on the journey with leaders. I primarily focus my coaching work on helping executive leaders and their teams, because honestly, that's where the culture starts. And I want to help them really get the burdens off, and I want to help them build up a team around them, or a pioneering culture around them, depending on what stage of the organization they're in. And then from there, I just want to help pioneering leaders on all levels, because we're going to need more leaders for the future, not fewer. And those leaders that are going to be in the future are going to need to be better prepared and more present to take on the opportunities and the challenges with a pioneering approach. And when we look at what's going on around us, when we look at what's coming at us from the future, whatever's looming, whatever's, people are talking about so many crazy things. There's so many wild things. I mean, literally just where I am in my neck of the woods, so to speak, there's stuff going on around here too. But it's not about getting preoccupied with what's happening around you. It's about staying focused on who you're becoming. So that way, when you step up as a leader, it's not an entitlement, it's a gift, it's a responsibility, it's a choice. And you are willing to step up, not because there's fame and money waiting on you, but because there are people that are valuable and it's an honorable thing to serve in that capacity. So I'm not trying to be so altruistic about this. I'm not trying to be so humble pie either. I'm just saying, if you have been given a sphere of influence, don't take it for granted, friends. Let's put in work. So let me look at my notes and really speak to the issue at hand right now, because we have been conditioned to believe that managing time is just all about tracking the minutes, tracking the hours, but it's simply a ticket to nowhere. I mean, I can't tell you how many pages and pages of checklists I've made and to-do lists I've made and time tracking lists I've made. And, maybe it kind of helped, but I don't know that it was the thing that gave me the game changers of where I'm at today. And so that's what I want to do is I want to go to the pain point of where most leaders are, because they are desperate for disciplines that help them succeed, that help them lead on a higher level at a higher frequency. And without this, pioneering approach, which means you are willing to take initiative and you're going to figure out how to put in the not only the work personally, but you're willing to put in other leaders around you, so that way you can have an executive capacity to actually accomplish more with and through others. But that doesn't happen just with kind of an abdication mentality. I think that's what a lot of a lot of people want to delegate, but really they're just abdicating, they're dumping. And that's not good leadership either. We've got to be kind, and we've got to be patient with the process of working with other people. We have to be patient with the process of empowering other people. And so really, when you do work with other people on your team, in your community, your network, your movement, whatever, um, you're not getting a shortcut. But what you're willing to do is chart a path that is wide enough so others can join you where and when it matters. And so what I want to do is start with this, just some thoughts that are speaking to me, right? Some truths that are speaking to me. And whenever, you're looking for the way forward, you're trying to get understanding, you're seeking out wisdom. Maybe you're seeking wisdom for your business. You're seeking wisdom for your family. You're seeking wisdom for your community. Go back to the timeless truths, and you'll be shocked to find timely trails. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that literally, when you go to these timeless truths, there's going to be a new application that you didn't expect. It's truth. Truth is transcendent. Truth is, above and beyond our opinions. We don't get to have an opinion when it comes to truth. We don't get to say, well, I disagree. No, truth is true. But we need to hear these timeless truths more than once. We need to go back to these timeless truths and humble ourselves, even as leaders, even the ones that are teaching and training others. We have to go back to these timeless truths so that we can see them with fresh eyes. We can see them in a more, hopefully, mature way. We can say, hey, I've grown. And so now I'm ready to handle more truth. And truth is one of the best investments you'll ever make in yourself and in those around you. So be someone who really puts a premium on seeking out truth. And so I want to go to really the source here, and I want to look at just two scriptures. Let me make it a little bigger for us. And so this is a real big wake up call. And the Lord says, this is, Jesus kind of shouting down, calling out some folks. He says, when you see a cloud rising in the west, you say at once, a shower is coming. And so it happens. And then you see the south wind blowing and you say, there will be a scorching heat. And it happens. Wow. Amazing. You hypocrites. What? I mean, I would think initially I would be like, hey, good job. You have a uncanny ability to predict what's happening out there. And isn't that what everybody values right now? Isn't that what everybody's talking about right now? We're talking about prepare to go there, right? Prepare for what? Prepare to go where? Right? So everybody's got this frenzy about finding what's next, right? Finding the novel, finding the next thing, the next trend, the next wave, the next gold rush, the next, movement, the next whatever. And if we're not careful, we can create these itching ears that just kind of go from one bandwagon to another instead of doing what we're going to see in a second, which is taking responsibility for what we have already heard and what we've already seen and doing something with it. And so let's get back to this point. I'm here to help you in your leadership journey. And I want you just to invest a little bit of time with me, because I'm going to help you anticipate and accelerate where you need to be going in the future. All right, so let's get back to this big idea for today. He calls them hypocrites. He says, you know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and sky, but why do you not know how to interpret the present time? So it's not enough just to predict environmental kind of external things. It's about understanding the meaning of the moment. Do you know the meaning of the moment? And another way to say that is, I'm so happy that you're leading a movement, but do you know what the movement is about? Do you know what's the purpose of it? What's the why behind it? Where is that why going to take you if it's still moving 3 to 5 or more years beyond that, or 30 years, or whatever it is? So most people are just reacting to what's happening in the environment. They're reacting to the externals. They're reacting to the trends. They're reacting to, this is up. No, this is down. No, go here. No, go there. And in the name of trying to find the future, we miss the call to action that's in the present. So don't get distracted and don't get discouraged, and definitely don't get disqualified, but stay really focused on what is the meaning of this moment right now, and anticipating what's the next chapter going to say, what's the next chapter going to look like. So we're not just looking at quote hard data, so to speak, but we're learning how to discern. Do you know how to discern your story? Do you know how to discern the thing you're leading? Can you discern it? Can you begin to pick out motives? Can you find meaning in the mundane? Because if you can't, you will find yourself going through the motions. Come on, somebody needs to hear this. I don't want you to get discouraged when you're going through the mundane, because that might actually be a really important part of your journey to develop the skill set and to actually take you on the right path towards empowerment, instead of pushing you in the deep end and then you're just drowning in your own inexperience. So we've got to learn how to anticipate. Don't just react to what's happening around you. anticipate what you need to do next. What is the current call to action that is going to help you prepare to go there? So that's that big idea. We'll come back to it in a second, if the trail takes us there, so to speak. But I also want to bring up one more big idea or scripture here. And this is a totally different part in the Bible. Let's see. And what we're going to find is the value for leaders to get away so they can anticipate how they're leading. They can anticipate where they need to be going next. And that margin is crazy for folks because so many leaders say it's impossible. They don't even believe in it. They don't even believe in margin. They don't know how to get more margin in their day. They don't know how to find 2 more hours in their day. They don't know how to find, 5 or 6 more hours in their week. They don't know where that margin is. And that is that space that you're not able to be future focused, that space that you're not able to take time like this on a Future Friday and actually, go to the gym, go to the dojo, go to the training house and keep putting in the work. I don't care what level you're at. You've got to level up even more, particularly as a leader, because people are counting on you. And I'm not putting pressure on you. I'm just taking unnecessary distractions off of you. I'm not here to put more pressure on you. I'm here to say you need to evaluate what's really going on around you because you might be missing the forest for the trees. So you have to learn how to anticipate what's important. That's the point. Don't just say, "Oh, look, I called it. I know who's going to win the next game. I know what this market's going to look like. I know what these people are doing." It doesn't matter. What about you? What are you going to be doing? What's important for you? What's important for your context? What's important for your leadership journey? What's important for the people that are counting on you? Right? Do you know what's important? Do you know how to anticipate the action that is necessary? It's not just about calling things. It's not just about having predictive powers. Everybody's so excited, AI is going to just help us with everything with all of its predictive technologies. I mean, we really need to sit down and think. And we're being handed some really powerful tools, but we have to use them with wisdom and we have to know what our part is and not just outsource all of these things that we just don't like doing. You don't want to be handing over your own empowerment. You want to be growing as a person. You want to keep growing as a person. All right. So looking ahead is how we anticipate. Don't get anxious. Don't make up fantasy. Don't just pretend that you think you know what's going to happen. Don't just say, "Well, I'm good. I have a gut feeling about all this stuff. My gut's never wrong." You might need to take some more probiotics and work on your gut. You might need you need to learn not how to react to what's going on around you, not how to jump on bandwagons, not how to just say what everybody's saying. You've got to really know what's the importance of the moment and how does that call me to action. Not just where I sit back and say, called it, nailed it, where you can actually say the work and the things I'm thinking about is meant to serve others. It's meant to solve problems. It's meant to prepare us so that way we can be a strength and not a burden, and we don't take this time for granted. So how do you anticipate? You look ahead. Now, the other thing we want to think about is how do you actually accelerate? Because once you know what's important, once you know the meaning in the moment you're in, it's not time to sit around and talk about it and overanalyze it. It's time to accelerate. It's time to actually take action. And so what we're going to do is with a kind of a paradigm shift here. We have to lead with time. Lead with time. See, if you don't know how to lead with time, you're just chasing appointments, meetings, you're falling behind, you're feeling sluggish, you can't, keep track of anything. And that's where we end up with these, they're fine. I mean, I'm not knocking them. They have their place. But if you think that the silver bullet is gonna be just meticulously tracking all your minutes, um, it's reactive. It's not creative in nature. Okay, it's just not a creative use of your time. So to accelerating our day, accelerating our week, accelerating our month, accelerating our progress, accelerating. What does this mean? It means what's really important. You have pruned back the non essentials. Now you have an essential plan. You know what is mission critical. You're anticipating the right things. Now you can structure your calendar with the right things and you accelerate. You got to do more of it. You got to do it more often. You got to do it with more excellence. You got to do it with more people. You have to lead with time and not just chase minutes and hours and wonder where the week went. Now, in just a little bit, I will make space to answer any questions that can help you. We call it time management, but really we're going to shift into an idea called time mapping. Time mapping. And we're just kind of laying the groundworks here. I'm going to take just a second. If I can find this scripture, it'll be worthwhile. If not, that's all good. I will just read for us. Okay. I'll say this at the end as well, but I want you to really hear this. The winners in the future are not going to be the most productive. It's going to be the most prepared. The most prepared people, those who can anticipate and accelerate in the right direction. And there are so many leaders that want a following, but they really don't know where they should be leading those people in the first place. And so it takes real humility to say, follow me as I follow Christ. In other words, you're saying this is a big responsibility, and I'm not going to pretend like you're just coming to me. I need you to know that, yes, I'm committed to be a great leader, but it's because I'm willing to be a great follower. And and everybody submits to something. Everybody is seeking mastery in their life. And so you have to submit and you have to sacrifice to reach mastery. Right? Everybody's doing that. I'm just telling you what team I'm on. But every leader needs to know that people are not expecting you just to brag about how much you got done. They need to know you're a reliable guide through the unfamiliar terrain of the next phase. And if you do not have that skill set, and if you do not have that experience, and if you do not have that support system, then you need to step down and you need to get away and you need to get a clear head again and you need to get, clean hands before you try to send people into any field, before you ask them to do anything that you would not be willing to do. And it's super important that we as leaders slow down. We take the time to really anticipate and not just react. And we take the time to accelerate with good planning and good preparation and not just with the impulse of we are right and we can do no wrong. That's a really dangerous way to lead people. And so I think we need to be more uh, considerate and we need to be willing to slow down and make sure that the mission itself is going to succeed, regardless of what stage we're a part of. Okay. Let me read you another big idea. This is a powerful life principle. It's in Ecclesiastes 11. This is 11 verse 3. There are some things that you can be sure of. If clouds are full of rain, they will pour water on the earth. If a tree falls to the south or to the north, then it will stay where it falls. But there are some things that you cannot be sure of. You must take a chance, because if you wait for perfect weather, you'll never plant your seeds. If you're afraid that every cloud will bring rain, you'll never harvest your crops. You don't know where the wind blows, and you don't know how a baby grows in its mother's womb. In the same way, you don't know what God will do, and He makes everything happen. So begin planting early in the morning and don't stop working until the evening. You don't know what might make you rich. Maybe everything you do will be successful. Man, this is really resonating to me as I think about the way leaders relate to their time, the way leaders are making decisions about how they spend their time, where they invest their effort, where their attention goes, who they work with, who they who they collaborate with, who they tolerate. This is important stuff. And what we're hearing here is that so many people can pat themselves on the back because they're basically doing lightweight leadership. And they're saying, "Oh, I called that. I called that. I called that." It's like, no, duh. There's always going to be a spring, summer, fall, and winter. There's always going to be rhythms in your time, rhythms in your life. There are seasons where you go full court press. There are seasons where you have off season and you train and you rehabilitate. No, duh. And we cannot settle for lightweight leaders or lightweight leadership that just calls the obvious and wants credit for it, and wants to write books about it, and wants to start conferences and masterminds about it. And then we just repackage the obvious things. It's going to take real pioneering leadership that's willing to navigate and create the unfamiliar parts of the business, the uncharted choices that are in front of the community. Right? Don't celebrate that you're the answer man when you're taking on the easy questions. You have to learn how to anticipate the meaning of the moment, anticipate the importance of how you should be responding in that moment. I think that's so important that whatever you anticipate, it's meant to respond. It's meant for you to take some sort of action. Why else? You know what you're saying is it's important to focus on health. It's important to focus on key relationships. It's important to focus on compassion. It's important to focus on courage. It's important to do these things. Why? Because I'm anticipating a time where it's gonna be called upon. It's gonna matter. And so, don't celebrate that you have some predictive ability if it's not actually being put into action, or it's not actually developing you as a person, or your team as a business, or your community as a movement to take action in the thing that is going to be really important in just a few months or years or whatever. And then it goes on to say, because there is this level of mystery, because there is this dynamic of mystery, don't assume. Don't assume. You need to anticipate, but don't assume. You need to go through the reps of learning, of receiving, perceiving, taking on a beginner's mindset. But don't assume. Don't assume you've got to figure it out. You need to be willing to slow down and to really pick up on the signals that are going on. You need to make sure that you really are navigating with the right narrative. And the reason this is important, I don't know if you're picking up what I'm putting down, but that's okay because I want to send out a sincere and clear signal to people that value their leadership journey and they realize that it is a gift and it is a responsibility, and they're not just going to look for what they can gain from this, but they realize that they have to make massive contributions with others in mind. And so don't assume, and then don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. You're anticipating so you can accelerate. You're saying, "Hey, I know the call to action right now is action." That's the call to action. Whatever you're doing, whatever field you're in, whatever work you're a part of, you've got to take action. You can't be sitting on the sidelines waiting for stuff to, come through your social media feed. You're going to have to apply yourself right now. When it's not convenient, you got to apply yourself when people aren't looking. You got to apply yourself when people don't understand. You got to apply yourself when your big idea is not well received. You have to apply yourself. You have to put in that effort. You have to put in that action, but you don't know where it goes. So you have to anticipate. You have to anticipate not just the easy stuff that everybody else is, making a commotion about. You have to anticipate the meaning in the moment. Anticipate the action that you need to take. Don't just anticipate stuff that doesn't apply to you or doesn't, matter to you. Not because you're self-absorbed, but because you're going to be called upon at some point, and you have to show up ready. It's humbling, guys. It's humbling work, but it's rewarding. And I'm very, very happy to be numbered among people that are willing to prepare before they go there. And so moving on through this passage, it says, because you don't want to assume how things are going to go, begin planting early in the morning and don't stop working until evening. Accelerate, accelerate, accelerate your day, accelerate your work, accelerate your goals, 2x, 10x, whatever you want to do. You need to accelerate it. Don't assume that, what feels comfortable is going to get the results you're hoping for. You have to be willing to stretch. You have to be willing to go through the process. You may have to go longer than you think you can go. You may have to put in more reps than you think is necessary. You may have to accelerate this so that way you actually get to the destination on time and ahead of time. Okay? So accelerate. I want to get to some strategies now that I think will really help you with your time, the way you relate to time. The first thing is I want to talk about strategies to look ahead. Things that can help you better anticipate what is coming towards you. And simply put, I would say this is just my strategies, things that I have learned and earned over time with experience, and then through the executive coaching that I get to do. I would say when you want to get better at looking ahead, you have to realize that the thing you need to see might be hiding from you in plain sight. It's already there. All right. It's already waiting on you. So you have to have a beginner's mind, and you have to learn how to look. That's what I was saying. You have to learn how to discern. And so we really do need to seek wisdom as leaders. We need to gain wisdom. We need to be, yes, absolutely taking on more knowledge. More knowledge is wonderful and important and powerful. But we also need to be focusing on seeking that wisdom. And one of the things that I found is when you start anticipating opportunities, you start anticipating goals, you start anticipating needs, you start anticipating the stuff, you'll find that there are natural rhythms, but there are also bigger patterns to be a part of. And so what do I mean? You're looking at your calendar tactically, and I would say you just always need to be looking, 3 months out, bare minimum, just for the tactical stuff. I know some leaders, they go way, way out. They go 1 year, 2 years out. Okay. You got to find what works for you. But don't live day to day in the sense that obviously you want to take on the responsibilities of the day. You don't want to get overloaded and burdened by kind of uh, fabricating what the future could look like. You want to be content where you are, but you always want to have plan, a plan that can be course corrected, a plan that can be changed, a plan that, but you don't want to assume that you're just going to live in Groundhog Day and you'll get away with that. You have to anticipate, tactically speaking, anticipate uh, milestones in people's lives, anticipate the birthdays and the anniversaries, anticipate the opportunities for your industry, anticipate the ebb and the flow that brings momentum. You have to anticipate those seasons, and you have to anticipate those cycles. You got to be looking ahead. For example, this is just a random example, but whenever I go into our fridge and I grab that jug of milk, or I grab that OJ or whatever it is, I'm looking at the expiration date. And the expiration date is normally, a few weeks out, whatever. And I often get shocked because I'm in the summertime and I pull and I look at that expiration date and it says, August, or it says September or whatever. And I'm like, oh my goodness, the expiration date for milk is already thinking further than me, going further than me. I haven't even thought about September and my milk is about to expire. The OJ is about to expire. So that's why you have to anticipate things, because these opportunities will expire. So it's just like a fun little game that I play now. When I look at the expiration date, I said, man, if I don't have my calendar really dialed in, really detailed, at least by this point, I'm already risking, an expiration date. The next thing that we want to do is we want to practice storytelling. Practice storytelling. Now, why do I say that? Because if you're going to anticipate the future, you have to be really good at understanding the past. If you're going to understand and navigate what's coming, you have to understand what's already happened. And so being a storyteller, and I'm not saying you got to know world history, like in my very detailed ways, but I am saying you need to know your story, and you need to know the story of whatever you're leading. You need to understand the history. You need to understand the foundation. You need to understand the core values. You need to understand what got it to where it is today. You need to understand, logically, what made it a success. You need to think about it relationally. Who got it to this point? You have to be grateful. You have to honor those that have gone before you. When you know your story, you can better anticipate the next chapter, because you're not trying to tarnish or change or whatever a good story. You're working towards the original reality that got people going in the first place. You're going for, what was the original reality that inspired us? What was that higher virtue? What was that higher vision? For Abraham, he saw a city whose maker and builder was God. He set out, he left the best city that the world could offer, and he went for a way better city. And he was content to live in a tent because he had a vision. There was an original reality that he set out to find. And I mean, we've got to know what is the original reality, and then just see the chapters of how we're building. And if you're going to anticipate as a leader, you cannot have leadership amnesia. You cannot forget your story as an organization. You cannot forget your story as a community. You cannot forget your story as a movement. And if you're going to be a reliable guide, you have to be willing to slow down and learn the story so that way you can, again, anticipate the meaning of the moment, anticipate the action that's required of you and those around you. Not so that way you can just call out, I know this, I know that, I know this is going to happen, that's going to happen, look at me. No, all of this is meant to prepare you in some way. It's meant to take you through a process in some way. It's meant to develop you, to grow you. And if you're committed to be on a team that's growing, every person on that team better be committed to growing. And if you're a part of a community that wants to grow, every person in that community needs to be committed to keep growing. And so thinking in the storytelling way can help you kind of break out of the familiarity, can help you break out of the monotony or the routines that keep you a little more rigid, and you can have you're literally tapping into that creative space, right? Where you're thinking more like an artist and you're able to story tell your life. You're overcoming limiting beliefs. You're refereeing the narrator of your journey, and you're saying, okay, what are the predominant belief systems or the voices, so to speak, the influences that have been speaking into my story or the story that we're a part of? And you're anticipating the next chapter of it, not by trying to predict what happens, but by simply being a good listener, being a good learner, and then just making some somewhat intuitive slash logical connections. You say, well, it makes sense. I mean, if this is our story, if this is who we are as a people, as a community, as a business, as a movement, then let's just keep going in that direction. And then that takes us to here and there and there. And what this does is it gets you out of the minutia of tracking minutes, and it helps you focus on landmarks. It helps you focus on milestones, big milestones. You have to zoom out. You have to think more, dare say, cinematic about your business, about your community, about your movement. You have to think about the story that you're a part of. And you want to be a good steward of your story, because there's lessons to be learned along the way, all the way through. You got to be humble to actually go through that journey. And then another thing is just anticipate rhythms. Anticipate rhythms. It's a really easy thing to do. Okay. You know that spring comes every year. And then right after that, summer comes. And then right after that, fall. And after that, winter. You know, birthdays come. You know, anniversaries come. You know, event gigs come. You know, speaking gigs come. You know, industry targets come. You know, so you have to know your rhythms, and you have to be anticipating those rhythms, because you're going to need lead time to prepare for it. You don't just want to remember the milestone, remember the moment when you just come upon it. You know, you want to anticipate something is coming up on the calendar, literally months in advance if you can, years in advance if you can. And I don't think that's wrong to say. I think there's a reason Noah heard about the ark like over 100 years before the flood. He had to anticipate something. He had to anticipate the importance of the moment he was in order to get to work, in order to put in the action. And don't get discouraged if it's taking more time than you anticipated. You just need to realize that whatever you're working towards and working on is probably bigger than you could currently imagine. So anticipate rhythms and anticipate milestones, and try to be a good storyteller and think like an artist. Because when you go through the mundane and you go through the process parts of life, right? There's always process parts in our lives. Things that we just have to keep doing, things that we have to keep showing up for. You can get really just burned out by that, right? You can get discouraged. But when you think like an artist, you say, are you still talking about leadership? Yeah, absolutely. I'm talking about the creative side of leadership, the visionary side of leadership. When you think like an artist, you find beauty, you find meaning, you find purpose, you find abundance, you find wonder. And you're going to have to stay connected to that as you go through the process parts of your day, your team, your leadership, your work, and you got to be feeding on that beauty, so to speak, and that wonder and that inspiration. And that inspiration is actually going to keep you alert, because otherwise you get dull and dim. You just kind of get uh flat. And if you get too flat in your leadership, you get flatlined. So you got to have that openness to receive and perceive from that artistic creative expression, so that way you're getting the signals that are helping you anticipate the meaning of your moment. And I really do believe that there are pioneering leaders that are going to be zigging and zagging correctly. I really believe that there are going to be pioneering leaders that help us, that help movements and help communities and help others to rightly discern the actions that we need to be taking. Okay, so let's switch over now from look ahead to lead with time. This is going to get a little more kind of nuts and bolts here. But strategies that have helped me lead with time is, now we're going to kind of go to the other side of this. We're using the other side of the coin. So before, we're thinking like an artist, so we can see beauty and meaning and purpose, and we can keep wonder, and then we can anticipate the thing that we didn't have the capacity to receive before. But now we're switching over, and we have to move into the practical space, really looking at our time, our calendar, and now we are building. We are building. We're not just here to learn about rhythms. We're not just here to better understand seasons. We're not just here to be good storytellers and listeners. Now we have to be proactive and very productive. And we have to see like an architect, and we have to see structure. You have to see your year, 12 months, 4 quarters, 365 days, whatever, or however you want to lay it out, whatever, go for it. You have to see the 7 days in the week. You have to see the 168 hours. You have to really get specific, and you have to get structured. And I have found that even the most creative people are disciplined and structured. They may not be showing that part, but they have it. They have that side, because discipline is an ingredient for success. And so to lead with time and not just feel behind all the time, you're going to have to be willing to structure your time strategically. Structure your time. Say, no, I'm making decisions uh, with 12 months in mind. I'm making decisions with 3 months in mind. I'm making decisions with a repeating template in mind. I'm going to make decisions that are worth repeating. We're going to create templates. We're going to create systems that help us lead with time. Another thing is, we're going to practice time mapping the milestones. You've got to know, the military calls this reverse planning, but you start with the end in mind and you work your way backwards. And then we're going to accelerate with systems. So we're going to anticipate with rhythms, but we're going to accelerate with systems. Okay, so that's basically the time we have for now. I will come back. I really do want to help. Um, I want to. I was just kind of starting this conversation with us here. I'll come back around and keep going, keep growing with you. Let me know which idea stood out to you, what helped you. And I also want to encourage you right now. Make sure that you join me for, I've got a few more opportunities. You can stay on this guided coaching journey with me. The first thing I'm really excited about is I'm going to be doing a series of guided weekly planning sessions. So I've got another one happening today, and I'm aiming for the next few weeks to keep them going on future Fridays. So find those times, jump into that, watch the replays, and I would love to help you really map out the next 7 days and make the most of the time you have. I would love to give you space and time to actually go through the process with me. So you can know for sure that by the time that video is up, you are prepared at least for the next 7 days. And it's not to say that you're going to have a perfect batting average. What it is going to say is that you are putting in the reps, and that's helping you to improve. And not only are you improving your competence, but you're actually increasing your capacity. So you'll actually learn new insights and new skills that really accelerate you, where before you just couldn't handle, you know, all these moving parts happening at one time. But now, what was a mystery, now you have gained mastery, and you're really leading well. So check out those. I'm going to call those Future Fridays for right now. I'll do a few reps of those with you. I enjoy it. It's fun. This is something that I enjoy doing with leaders. I love giving them tools to better map out their time, and not just do it like this meeting and that appointment and this thing and that thing. I like to do the storytelling stuff, because when you know your story, it creates this whole new path in your day, in your week, in your life. And you're like, wow, I didn't even know that was possible, or I didn't think it was possible for another 5 years, but actually I'm tapping into it much, much faster because I was able to discern the importance of the moment I'm in. And then I was able to lean into it and accelerate that action. And so then I just totally, run towards it. Um, the other thing I want you to know is that there are going to be a series of challenges that I'm going to be hosting. I'm so excited about these. They're all called the Prepared Leader Challenge. So join the next Prepared Leader Challenge. I'm going to be doing the Prepared Leader Challenge next week. I'm going to be starting it up, and it's a 5-day challenge. And it's going to help prepare leaders to lead themselves and lead their teams more effectively. And there are 5 decision points that every leader needs to make before they show up to the next team meeting. And these 5 decisions are going to be the difference between being preoccupied or being prepared. And they really are going to propel you, and you're going to have personal momentum. And then that's going to unleash your team into new uncharted territories. I've seen a lot of alignment, and I've seen a lot of empowerment come through this process. And I want to share that process with you. And so the format for that is going to be very simple. We're going to show up 5 times over 5 days. We're going to take about 30 minutes together, and we're just going to put in the work in real time. I'm not going to give you information and then say, go do it on your own time. We're actually going to take the time, put in these decision points, and work through these tools and use these, frameworks, so that way you can show up to the next iteration of your team with really a master plan that unlocks momentum. And I think that's all that I'll say. I'm super excited. I'll be launching a cohort for leaders, for executive leaders and their teams, and just getting involved with you with the pioneer coaching work that I do. So just know that there's a lot of routes to take. I'm here for you. I'm here to encourage you and equip you for your leadership journey. And I just really appreciate you being on the ride. So stay awesome, stay encouraged, and keep putting in the future work. I will see you again real soon.